us again. It's Orange Bloods Live here on National Signing Day after 5+ hours earlier in the day, just doing the whole live show from 7 a.m. all the way to noon. And then we decided we wanted to eat. Bubba Hampton be damned. We're back. Jeff Ketchum, Chad Hastings, Alex Dunlap making his National Signing Day 2023 debut. We didn't have him on earlier. He's here now, and he just got finished taking notes from Steve Sarkisian's press conference, breaking down all things signing day. We're expecting Anwar Richardson to join us. He's at this DKR right now in the Centennial Room. So hopefully his computer is okay. Last thing we heard from him was, hell of a time for my computer to die. And I don't know that we've heard from him since. Here's Jason Sukamil getting ready to pop in right now. Jason, we're just getting started. So welcome. Again, we're hoping Anwar Richardson will join us. If not, we'll make do with the four of us. I'm not quite sure what Anwar's situation is. As you guys come in, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are creeping towards 18,000. We are 44 new subscribers away from 18,000. Help us get over the hump. In fact, subscribe to the channel before you hit the like button today.
There we go.
Prioritize one versus the other. We'd love to get that subscription to the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything at all. Fellas, we just got finished watching Steve Sarkisian, and we should say, as Jason joins the show, the little bit of breaking news. It's not breaking, I guess, anymore because like 4 hours old, not quite that. But Aaron Bubba Hampton from Dangerfield, a kid that when we ended the 5-hour signing day extravaganza earlier in the day, we were still waiting on what his decision was going to be. He did go to Alabama instead of Texas. We don't really got to talk about him anymore. So let's not. We'll move on and maybe circle back around at some point. Alex, I can't say that I'm reading your column yet because it's a lot. You typed a lot. But in what was like a 35-40-minute press conference. So here's where I'll start. The floor is yours. The number one reaction of all of the things that Sarkisian said, what stood out the most for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a whole lot, man, for sure. But one thing, just real quick, just to let you guys know, and to be completely honest and upfront with everybody, I have a dog that is going bananas right now. So as soon as I get done with this, I might need to log off for a minute and go put this guy in the garage. I hope he doesn't have a mailman by the way.
It makes you feel better. We can't hear the dog.
Yeah, we're not hearing him. Is there any way that I can just go take care of this just real quick? Like,
we'll come back to you.
Cool. Okay, go ahead.
We'll try that again. Jason, I'll start with you.
Hey, I've got a kid screaming outside my door. Which, hey, might not be too far off from the truth. All my kids are home from school. I've got one.
If I only knew it was that easy.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, guys, I'm out. What stood out, dude? I don't even know. There was so much in there. I loved two things. I love the way he ended with the player by player, just kind of quick bullet points, thoughts on each guy. I always love that. Just kind of hear the coach's breakdown, and a lot of his thoughts kind of echoed some of my thoughts. I was like, okay, that's good to hear. I thought the volleyball stuff was cool. Listening to him talk about in the message how he used that for the volleyball team. I tell you, man, Sark and I are kind of lined up. I mean, he talked about the portal and how you budget that, and he said, they're not a program that's going to go out and get 10 or 12 or 15 portal guys, and that's kind of been my thinking all along. The portal should be for very specific, immediate needs. Your foundation needs to be built on high school recruits. I thought he talked about that. I actually missed the first couple minutes of the press conference because I was on a phone call, and now I'm getting more phone calls about Dalen Evans possibly announcing at 4:30, which
there's been a lot of talk that very well could happen.
Well, I've got A&M people hitting me up saying, hey, A&M's nervous. I haven't even had time to check on it or process it, dude. So my head's kind of all over the place right now, but game day press conferences sometimes are a lot of philosophical stuff and just whatever, getting up in your feels and stuff. This was a lot of meat and potatoes talk from Sark, and I loved it. I thought it was a very informative press conference, and too much to unpack just on the fly like this. So let me get tracking Dalen Evans. I'll let Alex offer his thoughts.
Alex, Jason's right. It is one of my favorite press conferences of every year because there really is a lot of information flow in all of this. So was there one thing that stood out, or do we just need to kind of work our way through everything that was talked about?
Man, it's like with every we're probably gonna be talking about this press conference for a couple days, I think, Catch. Because it's like with every answer, there was like little things that were thrown in there that kind of give you a bit of insight and just sort of a peek into the way that they're thinking. And at times like this, it's not quite like I always say with the NFL draft or with free agency and stuff like that. It's like the one time that the team can't really. They can't really lie to you. It's like they've gone and they've done something and they've made a move and like this is what they've decided to do and everything. And whenever they're accounting for it in these sorts of press conferences, it's generally where you get them, where you get the most insight, where they're the most truthful because they're answering the questions about their process and going through this, right? And so some of the things that I thought were just interesting were some of the things that were said just, not so much maybe things that were said just in passing about certain things like, for example, just said in passing, we're probably not done at wide receiver. That was something that that's something that we kind of knew, but something that was interesting to me and kind of reaffirms that they are still interested there. I thought it was interesting for them to say, and maybe you just did. I was on the fence just in my evaluations about Melvin Hills, about whether he was going to maybe play strong side defensive end or whether he was going to be an interior defensive lineman at Texas, just kind of, based on his body and how I think he could fill out. It's pretty clear that he says we have 2 edge guys and 3 interior guys in this class. So we know who those guys are now and how they sort of see how we sort of see them coming in. We know now that Sark thinks he's getting 20 players enrolled in January. I mean, I just said in my column, it's funny, man, Catch. We talked about this. Do you remember like 5 years ago, we said, well, one day it's just going to be the norm that the whole class is going to be early enrollees. And all of a sudden, like here we are. It's like, it's like all of a sudden we're here with that. Andrew Makuba, there'd been some cockamamie talk that maybe he might play at the star or the nickel position. Sark says that he has that kind of versatility, but it's like, that was always, that was always silly.
It sounded like he thought he was a safety. Did it not?
He's a safety, and like Sark talked about him like he was a safety. He said it's nice that he could play some of these other spots, but I've talked about it all this. I mean, you have Gilbo, you have Austin Jordan, you have Jelani McDonald. You already have a headache at star with good players that you want to keep happy. But I mean, why would you bring in Makuba for something like that when you're losing all these other safeties? So there was that. Man, Catch, I can go through the list. There's a million of these little things that kind of just popped out to me, but I guess off the top of my head, maybe those were. I'm sure there are others that I haven't thought. I mean, golly, the whole Christian Clark, Bijan Robinson thing, the whole Brandon Baker, Kelvin Banks thing, just a whole lot of stuff, man. I love how Sark talked a lot about his little hypothetical particle acceleration chamber that these guys came out of. His three lab guys that spit out of the old acceleration chamber were Colin Simmons, Brandon Baker, and Wingo. Yep. So, yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Alex, we will kind of go step by step through that. Chad, you were watching, you were listening. Any big picture, singular thought that as Jason tries to get an update on what's going on with Dylan Evans?
Not much, but I mean, like I'm texting with some people. Like
we've had multiple people in the chat referencing him signing with A&M.
Well, literally, he posted like on his Instagram feed, like he was reposting A&M commitment stuff like 5 minutes ago and 2 minutes ago. So he's throwing a big curveball if he's not signing with A&M, if he even signs today. So,
but we always figured with Evans, Jason, that if he did sign today, he hasn't visited Texas. They haven't really, McKinley. I could kind of understand if that were to happen. Evans, not so much.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time he was on campus. It's had to be like a year ago. And I mean, he and Texas had a big falling out. I mean, yeah, there's a chance that flame is getting rekindled, but it'd be weird for him to commit without sitting down face to face with the Texas coaches and spending some time with them. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter that he's signed or anything, unless I'm missing it. But
yeah, we'll obviously keep our eyes peeled for that. Catches, as far as my reactions, the guys have mentioned a couple things in terms of stuff I might have said. So let me just do the game update stuff. If I'm a Texas fan, it is official. He said Derek Williams is out for the first half, in case everybody didn't realize that. He was asked that one quickly. But then also the injury stuff. Says everybody was practicing. He was asked about Worthy, Watts, and there's another injury there. Would that be Banks that's been a little banged up that he was asked about? The yes. Big names?
No.
I thought he said Jordan, I thought is what he
Maybe
said.
Jordan. Okay. Yeah. That would make sense. Okay. So that he was asked about Worthy, Watts, Whittington, all the W's. And then he said everybody's practicing. So that's all good news. I'm like Alex. I love the notion of the machine that builds things. I love that analogy. So to hear him say that, Alex, 3 times is great. You're obviously a big music lover. I love when people say, if you were going to make this kind of band, you'd make that band, like that sort of stuff. So if I'm a Texas fan, love that comment on Wingo, on Baker. To say Kelvin Banks' name right after you said Baker's is pretty impressive. The Colin Simmons thing, and then like you've talked about, to say Clark and then say Bijan so close to his name has to matter a little bit. And then the other thing that stands out to me is just him talking about the difference in football. The guys coming in January and how he has to deal with portal. And he did get asked about in-state guys, Catch. I'll be interested to get your thoughts on that, the in-state, out-of-state question. So those are some things that jumped out to me.
Yeah, if Anwar joins us, that would have been his question. We know that will be part of his focus, so maybe we'll save that. I did think it was interesting, though. His answer was kind of like a gumbo full of all of the parts of things we all said, right? He was like, he's like, it's not like we didn't want a bunch of guys from Texas, and we will try to do better than that, but it might be a different time in recruiting, and maybe guys are just going to spread out more. So it is more important to go out of state. Chad, the injury thing that you mentioned might have been low key the most important update, right? We're 12 days away from a national semifinal against Washington. He said as of this morning's practice that they all practiced and that he felt like they looked good. It felt like
fast. He said they looked fast. Yeah, man.
But it felt like there was something he still wasn't telling us.
Yeah.
When he was like, I think they're going to be available for the bowl game, all of them. And he was like, that's a good thing. And we should have them available because it's been a month. But it still felt like there was something there was something he was holding back on the injury front.
I don't think he said they should be available.
He said we've had a month to get them healthy.
Yeah.
We should be able to get them healthy.
Yeah, well, right. He said in a month we should be able to get them healthy, but he did say, let me just look because I wrote it down. Like I wrote down what he quoted. Who was it? Was it Danny Davis in the Christmas sweater who asked about it? Yeah,
I think that's right.
It was. It said I thought he said that everybody's gonna be available and they should be available because we've had a month. Mm-hmm. So I think he feels. I didn't feel too let down by that. To clarify a little bit, I think he was being asked about Austin Jordan and not Jordan Whittington. As far as
Austin Jordan, that's who it was. Okay, thank you. That third name I could not remember it after it happened.
Well, he isn't a starter, but he does.
Right.
He always gives the update on Austin Jordan, so I think Sark cares a lot about him for sure.
Well, hey, you want to talk about a guy Jordan's in the nickel, right? You want to talk about if I want to go back to what this doesn't matter that much, but we talk about Makuba. One of the things I've been saying the last couple of days on House Divided, Alex, is that if Makuba was a star first, I was like, they're going to have somebody transfer out because it's already really backed up at the nickel when you think of Gilbo and Jordan and Jelani McDonald is a guy that they want to start working in as well. Like at some point, those dudes one of those dudes would be gone, I think, if the day that Makuba shows up, his first practice, he's at star first and foremost. I do think he will play safety. But as Sark said, hey, it's nice to have guys that can do a lot of things, and he has done a lot of things. Real quick, other things that for me just jumped out. Look, it's impossible to ignore that he dropped a Bijan Robinson drop with Christian Clark. He didn't say Jarrett Gibson reminded him of Ricky Williams. He said Christian Clark reminded him of Bijan Robinson. No offense to anybody else that signed, but I heard that and I was like, dude, you just had that guy. You know what you're doing when you make that direct comparison. And he was like, hey, they same colors, but they look the same. I promise you it made Alex and I and Blake and a few others who've been standing on the Christian Clark is underrated table. It made us feel good to hear that kind of backed up by his head coach. Someone asked me earlier today, like who I thought might be able to play early. And I was like, look, if Christian Clark is as good as my eyeballs think he is, don't poo-poo the chances that might happen. I thought the description of Matthew Golden, I mean, he clearly really likes Matthew Golden. Talked about him as an outside receiver, somebody that they also think can run special teams, but it seemed pretty clear that A, he was excited about Matthew Golden, but B, mentioning that they may not be done at wide receiver. It kind of continues on with what we've said with regards to the portal and still looking for another guy. And look, they're still kicking the tires on some high school kids. What's the kid's name out west that I'm constantly forgetting, Jason?
Yeah, now you're going to have me dropping. You know, I'm not fully sold on that catch.
He hasn't visited Texas. He visited Arizona. He might make it.
He hasn't visited. If you're talking about talent, like I checked with some West Coast sources this week. If you're talking about talent, really good player. If you're talking about culture fit at Texas and Sark, we heard it again today. Culture. Aaron Burton. I don't know that he's the type of culture fit that they'd have to really do some background checking on him. So we'll see if he's a viable candidate. So
we do have a super chat that's come in, guys. Do you want to grab that at this point, Catch?
By all means, let's have it.
All right. And also thanks to everybody who's already jumped into the Specs chat, up over 750 folks. And thanks for your support of Orange Bloods Live. Remember, orangebloods.com is there for you tomorrow.
Real quick, Aaron Butler. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Go.
There it is. Yeah, Butler. Okay.
And he has not signed today. So
you will see QR code.
Hey, after we do the super chat, can I just answer that? People are saying that there's some discussion about whether Brandon Baker plays, whether he plays left tackle or right tackle. Just in high school, he
right
certainly plays right
school.
Tackle. Right.
It could be left tackle.
Yeah. I think eventually they'll want to keep Cam Williams at right, and they'll probably move him over there. But I'll bet you he's a guy that they cross train in both spots and just kind of see what they have. But he's certainly played right during high school.
By the way, Chad, I don't mean to interrupt. Chad, spit out the super chat so we stop interrupting you.
So, well, there's just one we'll get to, but I just want to let everybody else know there's obviously, thank you for scanning that code for orangebloods.com. Blake, the super producer, will also be throwing up some of our great sponsors here at Orange Bloods Live. And if you know some great folks that want to join this group, we would appreciate that too. Thanks to everybody for the support. All right. Just like a super chat is great support. $9.99 from Mark. We're at 23. Smith makes 24. So they're adding the 21 plus the 2 transfers, and then Smith being 24. How many more do we take? How many spots do we need to open up to get to 85? Thanks for the question there, Mark.
I'll tell you what, Mark, I will answer that. Blake, do you have the scholarship board handy? Even if it's not an updated one, like I can do the math and subtract, if we need to subtract Bubba Hampton from the numbers, like I can do all of that while he's working on that, Mark. And I see he's that was fast. So can you zoom in there on the bottom just so that we can see the numbers? All right. So let me take Mark. Can you take that down, the question, Chad?
Yes.
All right. So they're at, what is that, 78? The thing is, Mark, it's really hard to get a specific number because we're not done with departures. We don't completely know. For instance, Ryan Watts is listed as a corner with the seniors. I'm hearing there's a good chance he'll come back and play safety next year. Well, Alex, we can have a conversation about that later, but it's what I've been hearing.
Well, dude, I mean, we can talk. I mean, here's the thing: the NFL sees Watts as a safety. This was the year where they said that they need to see the speed out of him, and they just didn't. I mean, I didn't, you didn't, we didn't see his ability to really turn and run with these guys. And whenever you had the report, somebody telling you he might play safety for the bowl game, I thought that would be foolish to change him.
I'm going to put that in the war room, Alex.
Midstream.
I misunderstood what I was being told.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. But
that
I think
person was telling me Watts is moving to safety, but that would be in a world where he comes back for another year, he'll move to safety
because that's where the NFL wants to see him. It's where they've wanted to see him all along, but they couldn't afford to do it this year. Now they know what they have in Muhammad. Now that you know what I mean, he's a better boundary corner than Watts anyway already. So I think that, if you're just talking about it for next year, it makes all the sense in the world. I think it would be really crazy to kind of, switch streams whenever you just have the CFP coming up. It'll
be really interesting because now they would have potentially Watts, Makuba, and Williams and Michael Taft, but like those three guys who I think they'll think of as starters. Not everybody will be able to play. Real quick. So Mark, on the question, you got 78 over in the far corner. And you've got 13 seniors departing, but that's not a hard number. We're still waiting Alfred Collins, but for the sake, let's just call it a hard number. For the sake of arithmetic, you got 13. And then you got, at this point, let's say that the three offensive weapons go pro. And Jason, real quick, what's your Dylan Evans update?
He says he's probably not signing today, so nothing definitive. And someone said like he's got an announcement at 5. So I'm like, is he going to make an announcement at 5 that he's not signing? I don't know, but direct word is probably not signing today, with an announcement probably coming of some sort in 13 minutes. So.
Okay,
you got to admit that'd be new. A not signing announcment. Put all the hats on the table, then just wipe them all off the table and leave.
None of them. Not today, Satan.
By the way, there was a kid today that flipped from God. I can't remember. He was committed to or he put a Colorado hat on, and I think he was committed to Colorado. And then he threw the hat. And I tell you, that hat must have covered 100 yards. I've never seen someone toss a baseball cap with such ferociousness. That thing went, a lot of times it's a toss. This dude threw that thing like it was a Frisbee and it had distance. Colorado punked a few times today. Guys, they thought they were getting to go in elsewhere. Okay, but back to this. So let's just pretend like the 13 is a hard number. Let's take Sanders, Worthy, and Mitchell. And let's just for now, for the sake of counting, let's assume they're gone. So that's 13 plus 3. That's 16. So take the 16 and subtract it from the 78. That leaves you with 62, which means they have room for 23-ish, which is kind of about where they are right now when you include the portals and everything else. I think they're going to go up as high as 26, 27, maybe even 28 when it's all said and done. There's still a couple of high school. We know they want to take Ty Anthony Smith. So when you look at the recruit number, and I can't read that. It says 21, right? Not including. So you got 21 plus the 2 that are in is 23. We know they want 24 because that's Trey Moore. 25 would be Ty Anthony Smith. And then I think they would like to get a few more guys, a receiver, a defensive tackle. It kind of just depends on what else might come into the portal, second windows. March could even be a time where after they evaluate, maybe they think there's something that they need. But I think this thing ends up being 28-ish. They've got room right now for they're probably going to need 5 or 6 guys to portal out between now and August. But numbers won't be a problem, Mark. They're close as it is. They could almost fit the group. Assuming the guys that we think are going to leave. It might get a little tricky if Ryan Watts decides to stay. If Alfred Collins decided to stay, that's 2 more that goes away. Now you might need, in order to get to a 27 or 28, you might need 6, 7, 8 guys to portal out, leave, retire, whatever the case may be.
And Catch, real quick, just for this chart does include Golden and Makuba as a part of it. Just
okay. I didn't realize those guys were already in. Okay, well then that even makes the numbers a little more flexible when it's all said and done, because I was counting them among the incoming players. They'll still need some portal guys to exit out, but they're really pretty. They're in better shape numbers wise. 2 years ago, people were like, Catch, why do you care about the numbers? Quit counting them. And I'm like, well, they kind of matter. Like you gotta, no matter what, you have to be under 85. And there used to be the 25-man rule. And then it was however many guys you lost in the portal, you could add from the portal. And now they've just done away with a 25-man number and balancing that. And it's like, get to 85. That's the only thing that matters. And I think Sarkisian's proven that they know what they're doing in terms of doing that. But I think the math for getting there this year is pretty simple. They still need a few more guys to depart between now and August. Trust me, that'll happen. And I think they've got flexibility if the right guys come along, both from the high school ranks and the portal ranks. I was told as recent as like a week ago, Jason, they're not going to take 10 to 12 guys. Although I was told before they end up in the playoffs, I was told, I think Sarkisian might have had his mind on maybe 10 guys from the portal. The portal is hard from what I can gather. It's the biggest problem in terms of maintaining the culture that they have, because every time I was told every time a name went into the portal, kids were approaching the coaches and saying, hey, I hear this guy might be coming here. Like, how does that impact me? And they suddenly felt like if they would take 10, it might completely disrupt a really happy roster. So I think they're probably in the 5-6 range. If they get Trey Moore, that's 3. Might be room for 3 more. But Sark talked about it today. And Jason, it kind of echoes what you were talking about earlier. They're just not for a variety of reasons. And I don't think it's because he doesn't think it would help the team talent-wise. I think it really does have to do with keeping the roster happy. Alex and I were just talking about if Makuba plays star, how many damn guys are actually getting practice reps in that nickel spot? You can only play so many guys. So I think they're very conscientious of not blocking the pathway of some of these guys that they've really invested in.
Yeah, maybe those players are on Orange Bloods because every time a name enters the portal, Orange Bloods is like, go get him. Like, get that guy. Like, slow down, man. You got to be pretty selective. Sark said it. I mean, obviously they've got to fill a need, an immediate need, but it's got to be a culture fit and a locker room fit and academic fit. They have to be able to get the things to transfer. So there's a lot that goes into that. And I mean, you got to be pretty selective. When you're Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, where Texas is trying to get to, yeah, you can go get 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe guys a year, but you're kind of cherry picking, right? You're cherry picking like the cream of the crop.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Texas, we saw a few years ago, really took some reaches on some guys because they're trying to rebuild that program. Now Texas has it, has things rolling. They've got the culture where they want it. So they've got to be very selective with their portal takes. And Sark really drove that point home today. Hey, one other thing, am I the only one who noticed this about Sark today? I'm not the only one battling allergies. Did you guys notice? It looked like his eyes were like he's crying and he's coughing and stuff. I was like, oh, so Sark's got a little bit going on. What's going on?
I noticed how tanned he was.
He's always tan. Sark's always tan.
He was especially tanned. He looked like a guy that's been in California, maybe hit Florida. He may have even seen a golf course. I'm just saying.
Maybe while he's out on the road recruiting, he's makes a pit stop at a golf course or something.
Every assistant coach I've ever known plans their recruiting trips around where they can squeeze in rounds of golf, even the good ones.
Well, how many times have you guys heard me celebrate when, oh my gosh, Texas just offered a guy from Las Vegas? I'm like, please get that guy to commit to Texas because I will go watch all of his home games.
By the way, people are look, a couple of thoughts before we go anywhere else. An Evan Stewart update for those of you who might look. Sark said wide receiver could be a position we're not yet done at. I think Jason and I both believe it probably won't be the high school kid Aaron Butler, even though he's a really, really talented kid, borderline national top 100 guy, hasn't visited Texas yet. I think if he really were interested in Texas, he could have came in last weekend for a visit. He didn't. He goes to Arizona. There's thought that he might commit the next couple of days. I don't think it's going to be him. Evan Stewart, I checked again today. And you know what? So we had, Jason, you'll get a kick out of this. We had someone in our chat, our Slack channel, Zach, was talking about Dylan Evans. I only saw the word Evan.
I did too.
And I thought he was talking about Evan Stewart.
Dude, I almost said that earlier when I came on the show. I thought Evan Stewart was being like maybe announcing today. I'm like, whoa, that's fast. But yeah, it was Dalen Evans. Yeah.
So I reached out to one of my guys and I was like, hey man, hearing that you guys are more interested in Evan Stewart than maybe I know. And this guy was like, no Evan Stewart. No Evan Stewart. So if you noticed, I went back in the Slack channel. I was like, hey, FYI guys, I'm hearing no on Evan Stewart, and I wrote full stop.
Yeah.
I thought I was typing that in response to what was earlier in the chat in our Slack channel, but it was Evans and not Evan. And so I literally sent the guy that I was communicating with a text message and said, hey, FYI, my bad.
Hey,
I actually sent you a text about something that wasn't real.
But you stumbled upon a good update.
But I did. I stumbled upon a good update. In fact, in the update, I've heard that Evan Stewart very much would love to go to Texas. I'm hearing that Texas isn't interesting. And I've heard through from a little bit of intel that I picked up that it might not be Alabama that he ends up with. It might be LSU.
Interesting.
If there's a second place team there, it could be good old Ole Miss. And if it comes down to a bag, he's not going to get the bag from LSU, so I'm told.
Yeah.
But if he's looking for a bag, Chad, Ole Miss has got one.
They may not all end up saying yes, but folks, they want to listen to what Lane has to say right now. Oxford is an interesting conversation for a lot of these kids.
Ole Miss is going for it. And I talked to some people who are really skeptical about how it will work. In fact, Jason, they'll be a great guinea pig, right? Because we talk about Florida State and we're like, look how it worked at Florida State. But that's just one. That's one school who really has made NIL, and I'm not NIL, but the transfer portal work in a way where like half their starters are from the portal. And they're bringing them in every year. If Ole Miss finds a way to get over the hump, and Chad, you tell me what's the hump for Ole Miss? If they finish next year 7th in the country, but they make the playoff, was all of this a win?
I mean, this year's record would get them into a 12-team playoff, I believe, or at least get them right into that discussion, right? They were 10-2 this year.
Probably would have been, yes. But they're not in a playoff this year. All they're in is a major bowl game, but not over the mountaintop.
I think if they're at that same level, maybe you could even drop another game there. If they're at 9 or 10 wins moving forward and you're in at least playoff discussion, if not creeping into some playoffs, wouldn't you have to say it's worth it? That's the point, right? Trying to get into the dance.
I mean, they're trying to win the SEC, but more than anything, by winning the SEC, that gets you into the playoff, no doubt about it. Or if you're in the championship game, you're in, right? Like top 2 teams in the SEC championship game are going to be there. Yeah, I think if Lane gets them into the playoffs, and maybe they even win a game, I think we will look back at this mad experiment of we're the new this year's portal halfway house, where if you're good and you've got a pulse, we want you. They're trying to elevate their team and get it to the next level. Jason, I really believe that might be our next guinea pig in terms of, can it be done? How soon can it be done? I think Sark and you think one thing, and I tend to lean more to you guys from one year to the next, that it's really hard in 9 months really to take a team and overhaul it with the portal and think you can win a championship. But Ole Miss is going to try.
Well, it's kind of a weird cycle that's probably tough to get out of. We'll see. But like, if you take half your roster from portal guys, well, you're only going to have them for maybe a year, maybe 2 for some of them. So then you're constantly having that turnover where, you're having to replace a good chunk of your starting roster with more portal guys. I don't know, maybe like Florida State, they have a ton of portal guys. Maybe that, since they won, maybe that helps them recruit some elite high school talent that they can nurture for a couple of years. But it's kind of a vicious cycle. Once you start taking that many portal guys, you almost have to keep doing it, I feel like. But like you said, they're a bit of a guinea pig, so it's kind of unanswered questions. We'll see what happens.
Great. Alex.
Yeah.
Our boy Jay Witt.
Oh, man, I thought you were talking about our boy Val Garcia. I thought you were going to say, look at Val Garcia.
Well, Val Garcia is a handsome man, but I just saw, like, in the last 5 minutes, Jordan Whittington got a Senior Bowl invite.
Can you believe it, man? NFL do you know what? Do you know what NFL teams love? Do you know what they love more than anything? When they go into it, when they go into a college, and the whole college and all the players and all the coaches and everybody just loves a player. They just love that. They just say, this is a guy who obviously they're not looking at Jordan Whittington as a player who can, come onto their team and just, revitalize their slot wide receiver position and take it to a whole new level. That's not what you're going to get out of Jay Witt. But what you're going to get is, man, we forget these NFL teams are businesses. They're employers. You got to have a workplace with a bunch of guys that, Sark talks about culture, all that stuff. NFL teams have to try to instill it too. And Whittington's so good at all this stuff that people just don't really, they don't notice as much. He's going to go to an NFL team and he's going to be a 5th or 6th wide receiver for an NFL team that is awesome on special teams. It can do it all. Use him in special spots where you can utilize what a good stock blocker he is and all the rest of that stuff. And the Senior Bowl is the perfect place for him to show that kind of stuff off, man. I guarantee you, like he's gonna, whenever he gets to like those special teams periods where we all kind of get up and tweet about what's happening and stuff like that during the rest of the stuff that's more sexy and fun, like the one-on-ones and stuff like that. That's where Whittington's going to need to be real dialed in because they're going to be looking at him hard in those types of spots. So proud of the guy, man. I've always said I think he's an awesome dude, and it's going to be an awesome Senior Bowl, man. I'll be down there covering it. We'll have full coverage here on the channel, live from the Senior Bowl, live from the Combine, all the places that I go.
There'll be a lot of Texas dudes there.
It's going to be well, we've counted them up on the show, Catch, and depending on what happens with Watts and what happens with Alfred Collins, now we kind of know that Quinn's not coming back, but we could be looking at 11 guys at the Combine, 12 guys at the Combine. And I know that there have been times wherever Ohio State, like, do you remember the year that they had like 15 guys there? And that was every national article was like, oh my God, Ohio State's got 15 dudes. It's like Texas is going to have a massive presence this year at the Combine. between the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, who knows how many players that they're going to have in attendance at those. So it'll be fun to cover, and we'll have it all covered here on the channel.
By the way,
Go ahead.
800 folks. Sorry, catch 800 folks in the Specs chat here. Let's see if we can calm Jay down. He sent us $2 on a super chat. Said 8:45 p.m. What the hell? Just saw the game time. How effing ridiculous, Jay. That's Eastern time, 7:45. If it makes you feel any better, Central time. Now, if you're in the Eastern time zone, then yes, 8:45 is the scheduled start time. They just want to make sure they're staggering with Alabama and Michigan. They want to make sure that's totally done. They start at 4, so they're trying to stretch as far as they can. But yes, the Texas kick time is around 8 Central in New Orleans.
I love Jay, but Jay, how you just now seeing that, dude? He's one of our favorites. Come on, man. Come on, Jay.
Hey, guys, real quick. I wanted, because it had been asked about. So, Sark really made a big deal. Maybe the thing he made the biggest deal about was the early enrollees. So, by my scorecard, here are the guys that will be here for spring football, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Baker, Kobe Black, and I'm not including transfers. Duh, the portal guys will be here in the spring.
Right.
Brandon Baker, Kobe Black, Christian Clark, Daniel Cruz, Xavier Filsamy, Jarrett Gibson, Parker Livingstone, Wardell Mack, Trey Owens, DeAndre Robinson, Jordan Johnson, Rebel, Colin Simmons, Zena, Jordan Washington, Ryan Wingo.
That's silly.
Those are the guys.
That's incredible. And that was one of the things that stood out to me, Catch. The idea that he said around 20 guys when he got asked the question about it. About early. I mean, you guys remember? How long ago was it?
Because I think Ty Anthony Smith would make 17, and then they would have the 3 portal guys would make 20. If it works out that way. I think they're at 16 in the high school kids. The guys that aren't showing up. Freddie DeBow, who I think we think's headed for a redshirt season. Melvin Hills, 3-star guy, probably headed for a redshirt season. Nate Kibble, kind of an underrated guy, certainly not expected to play early on. I think headed for a redshirt season. Our guy Santana Wilson.
Yeah, Arizona's tough. You have to jump through a lot of hoops in Arizona to graduate.
Can I just address this? People are saying in the chat, and this could just be like a football with friends thing where they're just messing with me like they always do. If I said Quinn, now that we know Quinn's coming back, that wasn't what I meant to say. What I was saying was with the Senior Bowl stuff. Now, I was mainly trying to say now that we know that, with all this stuff, now that we kind of think Quinn's coming back and he's not going to be part of it with the rest of the crew that we were talking about, that the number now is probably down to 11, 12 at the combine. But I never meant to say that now that we know Quinn's not coming back. But that could be it. They could just be messing with me. But I wanted to make sure that I had that on record, that I'm not reporting that Quinn's
there you go, Alex.
Okay.
Way to
all
not
right.
step into crap like I sometimes do. The only other guy, so the only guys in this class that aren't coming in early are DeBose, Hill, Kibble, Wilson, and Michael Kern, the kicker out of Australia. Of that group, my dog says hello. Wilson's the guy that might keep him from having a first-year impact, because I think if that guy were here during the spring, by the time we get to the fall, I love this DB class, but I think his upside and ceiling's as high as anybody's, and his physical profile matched by his actual upbringing and football family. I just love that guy. But Jason, everybody else, that's a healthy group of freshmen that you can sprinkle all over the depth chart at positions all over the place. Boy, this is the new standard.
Yeah, maybe other programs have had a number like that, but it's the highest we've ever seen at Texas for sure. I mean, I remember when this first started becoming a thing, you would have 1 or 2 guys, I'm going back way back when, but it's pretty common now. I mean, it's not that difficult. I don't know what it is with school. I mean, and I'm not shortchanging these guys at all. The reason I say that is my son did it, and he didn't even start trying until his first semester of his senior year. Remember, he wanted to go to Japan, and his counselor was like, well, dude, you're going to have to graduate early. He's like, all right, what do I got to do? Take a couple classes online. Done. So, in a matter of a week, he decided to do it. So it's not that hard to do. I mean, you see some guys now graduating at a full year early. They have enough credits. So it's just a whole other world. But, Sark said it. Those guys, the experience those guys get is key, right? Going through spring practice at some schools are going through bowl practices right now, but going through spring practice. But like he said, I never thought of it like this. He goes, now I've basically got a full roster out there for spring football. Whereas in the past, you had 20-something guys that hadn't enrolled yet. So you're playing out there with, 60-something scholarship players and a bunch of walk-ons. He said now he's got a full roster out there where they can have basically 2 practices going on at once. So, I mean, I've always thought about the benefit that it gives to the kids, and it does. But it's also a pretty good benefit for the school to have that many coming in.
Guys, just want to just congratulate one of our own. I mean, it's huge. Jay Ward, thank you. CNN just reported Quinn Ewers not returning via Alex Dunlap. Alex, congratulations. I mean, making the big time is big.
You weren't able to get out in front of it, Alex. It's too late. It's done.
Too late. It's done. It's gone viral. It's gone viral. Hey, anybody hearing anything about Trey Moore, the talented UTSA guy? What's going on with that story?
I asked the same source that I asked about Evan Stewart about Trey Moore. I'm still told nothing to worry about there. I don't know where in the process it is, but I asked if there was anything to be concerned about, and I was told no.
I thought one of 2 things. I thought because right before the press conference, UT officially announced Makuba signing, right? They announced Golden signing. I was like, are people just going to show up at the press conference and Trey Moore's name is going to be on there like he's already signed? It's either that or, like I said earlier, he probably doesn't want to sign today because, especially at this point of the day, he's going to get overshadowed. So maybe we see something pop tomorrow. Who knows? But like Catch, I mean, that one seems like the writing's on the wall, and it better be, right? Because we've already got commitment stories and instant analysis and everything else written and ready. So,
well, and it may be a situation where, UTSA had a signing day today. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud. Last night was the bowl game. Today is signing day. It may just be out of respect. Because if he signs today, the story in the San Antonio newspapers is Trey Moore transfers to Texas as opposed to UTSA signs 23 guys.
The guy from our Texas A&M site on Rivals is saying that Dalen Evans tells me he will not be signing today. And the same thing we said earlier, but we're still waiting for this 5 p.m. announcement. So whatever.
Jason, every 5 seconds, something that you've already reported, it comes out and it's treated as news, even though it's the same thing that you've already reported.
Well, maybe he just reaffirmed that, but technically Dalen was supposed to make a 5 o'clock announcement. But I've only been really covering Dalen Evans for about a week because this is pretty new. This type of interest, but that kid's already got me wanting to bang my head into the wall. So
hey, you guys want? Hey, Chad, I got something. This is for you.
Okay.
The gift for you.
And Dalen reposted that, so I think that's pretty good confirmation.
I got an idea for you after that. What do you got?
Did you see that Mack Brown made some headlines today?
I did not.
Apparently, head coach of North Carolina, Mack Brown, called out NC State coach Dave. How do you say his last name?
Doring.
Dave Doring, yeah.
Isn't it Dave Doring? I thought it was.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's
yeah.
Doeren.
Yeah, Doring.
Max quoted as saying, "You don't call kids a piece of shit." End quote.
Max swore at a press conference?
Yes.
Wow. That must have been something.
He must have been hot.
It's a good
Quote,
question, Bailey.
You don't call kids a piece of shit. End quote.
Man. Yeah, I don't know how that would sound.
I feel like the only time Mack Brown ever cursed is when I did something. So, boy, Coach Dave at NC State must have really got under his skin.
Damn. Now we know officially if Mack Brown ever comes on Orange Bloods Live, we can get him to swear. That's fantastic. Okay, so Catch, here's my idea. After all these moments now we've seen and witnessed where somebody reports something that Jason Sukamel has clearly been talking about and reporting, and Jason's rocking the Orange Blood shirt now, you need to come up with a shirt You know the I'm with stupid shirt? This one just needs to say what Sukamel reported. Something to that effect. Like, I'm going with what Sukamel says, and then orangebloods.com and starting that out. That's what you need to do. Because that's what everybody's doing anyway. We need to get everybody a shirt that just says, you know what? Whatever Jason Sukamel has already said, that's what I'm about to tell you.
I thought you were going to suggest me wearing an I'm with stupid shirt with an arrow straight up at myself or something.
No.
Maybe I've got the context of the Mack Brown stuff. Are you ready?
Okay, here it is.
I'm reading this from a Yahoo Sports article.
All right.
So NC State, when they beat North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, Doran is in the locker room and said, quote, "It's been 1,460 days since those pieces of shit beat us." So Mack gets in front of a microphone today, and I'm just going to read you what he says, okay?
Okay.
By the way, he does apologize. Secondly, in our last ball game with a rival school, I love it when these coaches won't say the names. The head coach of that school called our players a piece of shit. And I apologize for that language.
Oh, of course he did. Well done, Mac.
But I've never heard something like that before. I'm disappointed. By the way, I've had Mac say that to me before. You've disappointed me. And I don't even have a dad, but I feel like that's what it would feel like if I did, is when Mac says, "You've disappointed me." He says, quote, "I thought it was classless. It's not truth." Number one, Matt going with a literal explanation. These kids are literally not pieces of shit.
They're humans. They're not pieces of excrement.
This is number one. We didn't play well in the game. We didn't coach well in the game. That's been very well documented. I got that. But you don't call a kid a piece of shit. And I've addressed it with our team. I have apologized to them.
What?
These kids are one of the top academic groups in America.
What did Mac apologize for?
I don't know. He didn't say it.
That's so great.
He said they got an award for the AFCA's top 13. They've won a Coastal Division. They've won a bunch of games. They've been to an Orange Bowl, been to 5 straight bowls. They represent us well. And for me, speaking for them and their parents, they really didn't appreciate being called pieces of shit.
Wow. All right. Maybe a slight overreaction, but, you know, there you go. I think somebody's mother or grandmother sent him a message that they were a little offended, and he took it way too far.
By the way, Doran does say he has a lot of regret for that comment, but not so much that, like, it's I don't. He also apologizes, but somehow I think he means it less than Mac did. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the National Signing Day review show with old Texas review, but I've never heard Mac curse before. So that he cursed in a press conference on signing.
Certainly not at a press conference. Yeah,
that he must have been mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. So Dylan Evans not signing, McKinley not signing.
Who do you like better? Who do you like better out of those two, Catch? And Chad?
I don't think they're exactly the same, but I would probably take Evans.
You would? Like, okay. What about you, Chad? If you had to pick one of the two, just in a vacuum, not thinking about team needs or anything like that. Just
we're talking Evans, or you said McKinley. Evans or McKinley?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
And Alex, while he thinks about it, in a tie situation, you're taking a kid from A&M, you're getting a kid from Longview, so you're boosting your East Texas, territory. You're putting a flagpole down, reminding people we matter in East Texas. It's not territory that you just want to concede to A&M on ever. East Texas, too important for me. Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
I guess, Alex, I could probably, I don't know. We can make we're talking about what would be best for Texas, or which would be best for A&M to
maybe
end up?
maybe for this discussion, maybe you could just say for Texas.
Yeah. Man. I'll admit I haven't seen it. I've seen even less of McKinley than I've seen a little bit of Evans. I haven't seen as much of McKinley. My gut would be to lean towards Evans as well. You tell me. You've obviously seen a lot of film on both.
Well, I haven't watched a whole ton of it, only just during this process. But I think McKinley's got more juice.
Okay.
I think he's got more juice. I like his get off a little bit better, like his pad level better. Just more of my kind of defensive lineman.
And as
I think they would both be takes for Texas for sure. Texas needs them.
Are they both like Alex? I've heard this discussion too. We talked about this the other day. Do you see both of them possibly being like badass D tackles at the college level, or do you think Evans could? I know Evans has been at an end. They kind of move him all over at high school. Do you think they're both D tackles ultimately in college?
Yes, I think they're both D tackles.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're both D tackles, and because you see some of the Evans stuff, he's not always at end. I mean, you can see him at 3 technique and 4-eye and stuff. I think I think both those guys would end up being 3 technique.
I think right now he's like a 5 tech, but Texas, in time, I think he'll be able to play inside wherever you want to shade him. I think right now his body, if you were going to play him in a game right now, I don't think he's a 4-3 end. Like I don't think Texas would use him the way they use even a Baron Sorrell, a little bit of a bigger guy, right? I mean, but I don't quite see that in him. He's an inside guy for me, and I think it really comes down to developing his body a little bit more, some time in the weight room, give him the Tavondre Sweat treatment where you just build that body up. But I will say about Evans, and this probably applies to McKinley too. I haven't done the homework for the state of Louisiana like I have for the state of Texas, but it's probably not too dissimilar. You can take any 4-star defensive lineman who's a 4-star defensive lineman from the state of Texas, and when they're taller than 6'4" and weigh more than 240 pounds, they hit as future NFL players like 5 stars. There is almost no more valuable of a piece of talent than a big talented defensive lineman from the state of Texas. Those guys hit at important levels, right? Guys that are being drafted, but also drafted high in the draft, earning their pensions. There's big dudes, and it's when I talk about Alex Colin Simmons. He's got the tweener body. If you forget about all of the things that just make him special, and you just look at height and weight, those guys fail at epic number rates. But the big guys, even when they're not great, because they're big, they're still playing on Sundays in some capacity. So it's almost like a guy like Evans or McKinley, for that matter, because of their physical profile, their floor is high. Worst thing you'll say about them, they'll be in the rotation, and like an NFL team will be interested in them because they play at a high level. And as Anwar always says about John Gruden, it's hard to find big guys who are athletic and can play at this level. And so if you find one with even a little bit of talent, they usually get shots.
Well, and Sark talked about it today. Was asked a question about how difficult it is to find D tackle. It's just such a strange, freaky thing to find. Somebody that's that big, that powerful, that fast, that everything. So I would ask you guys, obviously a team that's trying to figure out, hey, can we find another Tavondre Sweat out there, or a guy that at least kind of reminds us of a badass D tackle? Y'all give me your thoughts on January and these other two guys. He was specifically asked about him. Alex, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Alex January? All the talk about Colin Simmons. What do you think about his line mate there and how he projects to college?
Well, I mean, I think we heard from Sark is that, I think he's going to be a developmental guy, right? I'm not expecting him to come in next year and really make too many waves. And that's kind of saying something, considering the fact, like, everything with Alfred Collins notwithstanding, and I'm not reporting anything about Alfred Collins leaving or thing, but you know, just like whether he leaves,
to be clear,
yeah, whether he leaves or stays, it's still going to be something where, you know, Texas is going to have to depend a lot on guys like, you know, sub replacement level players like Trill Carter. You know, I hate to say it about Vernon Broughton. He could always take a step forward, but he's been a sub replacement level guy thus far here at Texas. You know, these guys haven't gotten the opportunity, but they have, you know, they've gotten washed away in their run fits in certain spots in ways that you just don't see Murphy and Sweat. There's a definite downgrade. And then behind them, you have the dudes coming in like the Aaron Bryants, right? Number 53. And we only got to see Sadir Mitchell this year for 10 snaps in the regular season and 4 snaps in the Big 12 championship game. But every time he's in there, man, he produces. You know, he's played 14 snaps. I think he has like 3 tackles and a run stuff. He's a guy that you could see step up and maybe he was a little bit hard to move. But even with that being the case, and there's still being some stuff there and some wiggle room where somebody could really legitimately come in as a true freshman and work their way onto the 2 deep. I'm not sure I see it with January because, you know, you talk to evaluators around the state, even at different colleges, and they'll say, man, we were on him so much after that sophomore year. And Jason, maybe this is what you've heard or maybe what you've seen. Have you heard people talk about how maybe there wasn't really the improvement that they had? Maybe they thought he could be something based on his potential that he showed as a sophomore. Maybe he didn't build on that quite as much as they would have hoped to become that kind of high elite, kind of 5-star type of player. One guy said, you know, you worry about whether he's a guy that just thinks he can roll out of bed and play just based on his physical gifts and stuff like that. So maybe once he gets into a college program, you know, they'll be able to iron that stuff out and get him out there because he definitely has a lot of physical gifts. I do think he might take some time to develop. And you heard Sark talk about it, man. He's like, he's played baseball the off season every year up until now.
That's crazy.
Stuff like this. So it's like things could really come together when the sole focus is on football. I wanted to pull up I wanted to pull up Robinson's weight. I haven't looked at that. What is his weight?
They've got him at 6'2". I was just looking at that, Alex. 6'2", 310.
Yeah. We
have him at 6'5", 290. So somebody's way off.
Yeah, I would venture to guess that what Texas has is probably his body looks like it would be the one that's more ready to maybe step in and kind of play a role, kind of like Aaron Bryan has played this year, maybe at the nose. I think out of all those guys, he would be the one that I would look at, and because up until today, I wasn't sure what Melvin Hills, how the way that they were thinking he was going to develop, how that was going to be. You know, I think he's probably going to be a guy that needs some time to develop. I think Alex January can eventually be really good. I'd be interested to hear what Jason thinks about is that the narrative that you've heard in recruiting about January, Jason? Just potential through the roof, but maybe didn't quite live up to it in the junior and senior seasons.
Not really. I mean, he got defensive player of the year on his team. He had a really good season. Some people
he got defensive player of the year over Colin Simmons on his team.
Yes, some people.
I think what happened there
is that kind of like a Tavondre Sweat.
I think the district player of the year was Simmons, and so I think the defensive player of the year was January.
Kind of like Sweat and Murphy. Yeah.
I think that's how that went down.
But regardless, he had a good senior year, and this is a guy that LSU really wanted him. Oklahoma really wanted him. So, I get it. He, like Sark said, that he's played baseball, so he hasn't lived in the weight room, for 4 years. So I think his upside. We talked about it this morning. I think he's one of the more underranked guys in this class. I still think Dontre Robinson's underranked. Rivals has him as a 4-star and right inside the top 200. But I think that dude's got tremendous, just raw upside that he can tap into. But I really like the Alex January take, to be honest with you. I think he's got tremendous upside.
What do you like best about his tape?
He just makes plays, dude. He comes from a Duncanville program, and that's, I'm always a little bit leery, like when you talk about a guy from it's kind of like a running back that these holes are huge. He's got guys taking plays off around him, but he moves well. He's got good size. Like what does Texas list him at? 6'5", 320. This is a guy that can carry 345 pounds. He moves well. Sark said it. He's got really good feet. obviously eye-hand coordination. He comes from a good lineage.
Dude,
His dad
if he's
played
6'5", 320, I mean, that's very, I mean, that's something to, if he's really 6'5", 320, then that's something where maybe I need to rethink. Like if he's 6'5", 320, he might be able to come in and play. Like 320?
Yeah, that's what we've got him listed, and that's what
I just thought he was more athletic this year and more active. I just got finished doing the rankings, Alex, and posted them last night. And one of the things they've got for January is his game by game throughout the season.
Yeah.
And man, let me tell you, he doesn't look like the kid they got yesterday, right? So you don't watch his film and go, holy shit. Wow. Like there's none of that, but in every game that they posted, he's active. He's always, I think he just got better this year. And I think he was 16 last year. I think he may have just turned 17. So I think he's a big guy who's got athleticism. And this year, I thought he was more active and a playmaker and just generally more unblockable than he was a year ago when, he was okay on film. But I thought he made it. I ranked him in the top 25 in the state, much higher than everybody else, which is just a way of me saying that a lot of people have him ranked as a high 3-star, including rivals. And I think, I think he's like a 4-star prospect. But B, if you take positional value into consideration, he's the only guy at his position in the state this year that's of that quality. And, the only guy I think in the state of Texas they offered at defensive tackle, he just had a much better season. He's just a lot better than he was. Maybe he got rid of a little bit of baby fat, but he seemed to stream down a little bit. But you can still see where he can get bigger and bulk up and get stronger. I like him. I think he's got a chance. I like him a lot more now than
he's gonna have every chance to play. If he's real, I don't believe those size numbers. Look, man, I'll eat my words whenever he comes in and we get the spring roster and we get to look at him on the field with the other guys. We're like, if Alex January is that size, then I mean, with the potential that we've seen out of him, if he's actually that size now, that makes a big difference to me. So
I've stood by him, Alex, and I've interviewed him.
6'5", 320. I just don't.
Yeah, I've interviewed him in person, and it's been a while since I've stood right there side by side with him. I think those numbers are probably stretching a little bit. I do, but I mean, he's a good sized dude. And I just looked. If I'm guessing, I mean, it's total guess. And again, it's been since I've stood right beside him. It's been a while.
I'm sending Blake a picture of him standing next to Colin Simmons.
Well, hey, real quick, go ahead with that catch. But Colin Simmons was first team District 11 6A selection. Alex January was the District 11 6A Defensive Player of the Year. So he was the Defensive Player of the Year. Colin Simmons was just a first team all district selection. Alex January was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. So I think, Ketch, you were saying you thought Colin might have won the whole overall district MVP.
I thought he was the overall district MVP.
Okay. Well,
I didn't see that in the little write-up that they sent out today.
It's an interesting distinction. Yeah. I do remember, fellas, just an image, and I wish I had it, but these two guys standing at the captain's deal just like this in Waxahachie that night was distinct. You didn't have to wonder who Colin Simmons and Alex January were, but there they are.
And Collins is 6. He's listed at 6'3". Colin is, so
yeah.
Those both might be they might be stretching it by an inch on both of those dudes, but
Yeah, I think I don't think 320, but who knows, man? Like I said, if he is 320, that's awesome. He'll probably come in and play. If he's really 6'5", 320, he's probably gonna get to play next year. He has a ton of potential.
It also makes me hope that he wasn't just a DH and he was like a relief pitcher in baseball. Can you imagine being a high school baseball player and facing somebody like that? That'd be awesome.
Shortstop. He's a shortstop out there.
By the way,
yeah, right, exactly.
If you type in Alex January on Twitter, careful, kids.
Okay.
For some reason, you'll get more than you bargained for if all you wanted was Alex January, the football photos.
Now we're all going to have to do it. Hold on.
Not safe for work. Hey, guys. So it turns out I totally forgot. I have a family Christmas event that I'm already late for.
Yes.
And apparently 6 o'clock's the latest my wife and I with the kids can walk into the house at this family Christmas function. Do we want to wrap the show up now, or do you guys want to go without me for a little bit?
I'm good. I need to get ready, kind of get my ducks in a row for
You want to go get drunk?
Well, no, I've got to cover a 6:30 announcement now, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're not going to get the steak?
I don't think I can. And now I just found out, don't get me started. Now I got to pick my daughter up from work at 10:15 tonight. I'm like, what the hell, man?
We were wrapping up the early show, Alex, and he was like, my daughter has gymnastics practice, so I'm going to have 3 hours. He didn't even tell us where. He just said
it's up in Georgetown, but yeah, I'm just gonna. There's a steakhouse. I mean, what Longhorn Steakhouse? Nothing fancy.
I'm going to get a steak, and I'm going to sit down by myself, and I'm going to turn my phone off, and I'm just going to eat, maybe have a beverage, and maybe we'll Uber home. And now,
so I couldn't take her because I had to be with y'all. So I said, okay, well then my son took my other daughter to work so I could be with y'all. But now I've got to pick the other daughter up from work at 10:15. So story of my life, dude. It's just the life of a dad.
So
right?
let's do this. I have to go. Like my wife is sending me messages. So Chad, I'm going to exit and you can wrap us up.
Okay, we'll do it. We got a couple super chats, and you have a good Christmas event there. There you go, Jeff Ketchum, going off to be a good husband and hopefully remain a good husband. You know, that's what you got to do when you realize what you forgot, gentlemen. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there.
How do you forget a big Christmas party thing, though? Right? It's that's in a nutshell. Yeah,
because it's National Signing Day. That's it's a big National Signing Day. Let's grab these two super chats, and we'll see if you guys have anything else. This one is $1.99 from Michael. Catch Alex and FWF is the shit. Thanks. There you go. One of Alex's fans.
Appreciate
and of course,
you, brother.
Football with Friends will be back tomorrow. One more day of the regular shows to finish out the week. No shows Friday and no shows Monday because of Christmas. But tomorrow, recapping signing day, Sark's press conference, all the different stuff.
We got our prize picks show tomorrow morning, right, Alex? We got to get our prize picks.
Prize picks, man. We'll have Cody Carpentier on Football with Friends. We'll do a final takes Thursday. Man, it's gonna be a big day, dude.
You guys normally do the prize pick show 9 or 10, somewhere there?
He's at 10.
You should know that by now.
You always asking slag. I think it's either 10. I think it's 10. Right? 10.
Yeah. Okay. Also, this one we really want to thank. We do love all super chats, but hey, all the flips, $25 on the super chat. Thank you so much. Checking in. Cheers to Catch grabbing corkscrew barbecue next time. Lake levels rising for Alex. Cold Coors Light for Sukamel. And Chad, bless you for hanging in all day. Love you, dude. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
flips.
brother.
Yeah,
I'll take a little bit of that Coors Light. I'll take some of the barbecue. Whatever you got.
Yeah,
Let's
I'll
go.
take all that stuff, man.
I'll take the lake levels rising.
I put lake levels at the top of the list, though.
There it is. There it is. That looks tasty right there.
Yeah,
it does.
Texas beef traders, man. Check them out. You get 10% off your beef right now, right there in the heart of Lakeway. Ranch direct, imported from Mason, Texas, all natural. And going into the national, all the way up to the CFP game, you can get 15% off those awesome tomahawk steaks. So save yourself some money, man. Go get that. Go get that Texas beef traders.
Yeah,
and of course, always call Val Garcia if you're in the DFW area. He will sell your house for free if you work in education or in the ministries. And if you tell me you heard about him on Football with Friends or here on Orange Bloods Live, he'll sell your house for half price. So he's only smiling like that because he's saving you $20K. So make sure you call Val Garcia.
It's a good smile. He looks like he might be a
Val
big
Garcia.
time.
Look at him. He's always got a smile. He's probably in the chat.
Thanks to shout out to someone who just scanned to get that QR code. And thanks to over 800 of you that are in the Specs chat now. We had all kinds of great numbers on the show we did earlier today, this morning, rolling about 5.5 hours on National Signing Day. It was great. And you know what? We got another one rolling. We got a quick super chat here. Money B says, Alex, give us some of your Sark presser instant reactions. We had some of that earlier. And certainly check out the coverage at orangebloods.com. Alex, before we get out of here, just a quick impression or two from Sark today.
Yeah. just some of the, we talked about some of the things that he said about some of these players, but I thought it was interesting to hear about just a couple of them. And just like I said, some of the things that you can sort of get from, just from the stuff he said sort of on the side, right? So some of the things that he said sort of without saying them. One of the things is that, he talked about Anwar asked him about out-of-state recruiting. I don't think we talk much about that, but he's, they're asking, is it different now? What is this all about? And Sark said the same thing that I've been kind of thinking about this thing. And Chad, maybe you sort of feel the same. I've always said that the Aggies, the Aggies opened up Texas. Like, there's been a lot of stuff that did it, but the Aggies opened up Texas, and it's just proliferated with, smartphones. I was talking about it yesterday. I mean, these smartphones, they're the center of younger kids' lives, right? In the way that I don't really consider the phone like sort of the center of my life, the way that it feels like a lot of younger people are on their phones a lot more often. They communicate, with their via text messages or via face. It's almost like being on FaceTime with somebody feels like a real human interaction to them, where to me it feels odd, right? Because I'm older, you know what I mean? And so I think with the ability to connect with players like that from far away, and the fact that during the pandemic and all the rest of it, and the government response to it, that we weren't allowed, we had to kind of talk like that with people and get used to this technology. I think that now that the older generation, these coaches, now they're used to it. They can connect with kids that way. It just makes it like where you back in the day, you'd have to go travel and go down the eastern seaboard and go to Florida and head up through Georgia to go to that high school in Calhoun and all the rest of it, where they got that 2025 kid from yesterday. To talk about highlights, geez. But now you can just you can probably just get these guys whenever you want, right? It's interesting that Sark said it's just different now. Like, that's the way it's changed. It's that in the summer visits and all the rest of that, right? Just very, very interesting. And he didn't really say anything about, wouldn't you expect him to say something like, well, our most important thing is to make sure that we, first and foremost, that we're taking care of the Texas kids and the Texas high school coaches and stuff.
He slipped it in real quickly.
It wasn't we talked about Mack Brown. It wasn't a Mack Brown thing where he starts it out like that. Whenever he talked about Matthew Golden, talking about the experienced playmaker on the outside, made lots of plays at Houston. But on the flip side, he also wanted that value at special teams. I'm of the opinion, and I'll probably talk more about this later, but I'm of the opinion that Matthew Golden, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, especially if they get another portal wide receiver, that his most valuable contribution to Texas might be as a kick returner. Well, it's just like, what if Ryan Wingo's coming in? Like, Ryan Wingo's an awesome receiver. It's going to be hard to keep off the field next year. And Jonte Cook is going to be a natural at Z. They're probably going to have Golden at Z. You take Jonte Cook and you put him over at X, and you make Ryan Wingo be somebody who's going to be a player that was like in a Jonte Cook type role this year, where he kind of comes in and gets a little bit of playing time, but not really too much at all. What if Wingo comes in and he's Ryan Wingo, and all of a sudden you're like, well, do you take Jonte out of the Z to play Golden, or do you kind of have Golden maybe be more of the look, he looks like a great player and stuff, but we're still talking about a 450-yard guy last year. But just an electric as a kick returner. And that's how Sark talked about him whenever he was, talking about him in his press conferences and stuff like that, when he's talking in reference to what U of H and what they need to prepare for. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I think he's going to come in and be the star kick returner first, but I'm not sure that he lines up as just the frontline starting guy at the Z wide receiver to start next year, especially with some things still pending in the transfer portal. Whenever he talked about, we were talking about earlier, the defensive linemen that were coming in, and we talked about Robinson. Whenever I heard him say, he catches these one-handed touchdown passes, all this stuff, like, you see how athletic he is, all of that. Whenever he said, this is a guy that's well over 300 pounds, I don't think that means 310. And whenever we talk,
Right.
you know what I mean? Whenever we
Yeah.
talk, especially with all these giants they have on the team, to me, it's like if you walk around with all these 350-pound dudes and all these the class of 2023 offensive line, all these guys, you're used to seeing guys 340 to 360. When you say well over that, and I thought whenever you guys told me that Robinson's only 310, I thought that sounded light the same way that I thought Alex January at 320 sounded a little bit heavy.
Right.
So to me, it kind of gives you a little bit of a little bit of insight there. And then let's see. He said that we knew with Jordan Washington, whenever he was saying just one thing about Jordan Washington, he talked about his ability to stretch the field vertically, the tight end. He said it was a position we needed to fulfill. Jordan gives us the ability to be that tight end that you can flex and move around. So what he's doing is he's juxtaposing that because Texas has two different types of tight ends, right? They have one that they align as that's going to be your Gunnar Helm type. Ultimately, it's in a perfect world, it'll be Gunnar Helm who's attached to the line, right? And then it's going to be your Jatavion Sanders who plays the H-back, who's the sniffer role, or who lines up outside and who's more of like the wide receiver. Now, coming into next year with all the young guys, the Spencer Shannons, the Will Randalls, all the dudes coming in, this stuff, the other guy is Juan Davis, right? Number 81, who hadn't been able to stay healthy, but profiles as more that type of guy, right? The fact that he's saying that it was a position we know that we needed to fulfill, which was that position of the tight end who can stretch the field vertically and who does not line up attached. To me, it shows that, man, they probably don't have as much faith in Juan Davis as, maybe he would like to think that they have whenever Juan Davis felt like he's been kind of lined up to sort of take that role on, right? That sort of second tight end role that would be to complement Gunnar Helm, who's going to be attached. And if you just extrapolate that out further, it sort of lends to my idea that I was talking about earlier with Matthew Golden, Jonte Cook, Ryan Wingo, another portal guy, the Ryan Niblett and DeAndre Moore in the slot. Whenever you take all those things into consideration, you're like, well, maybe even if they do believe that about Washington, Jason talks about how has all the upside, but is still developmental. He might not be able to come in and be completely ready to go. If they're not that confident in Juan Davis, to me, what I think is that'll mean Texas might not be a 40%, a 42% or whatever. I have the number. I can probably pull it up, but I think it's like 40 something percent, 12 personnel last year. We could just see a lot more 11 personnel, which to me would make sense from just the players that you have on the team and the way that you want to utilize. So this last year, Texas was on the season 41%, 12 personnel. You could see that come, and that's two tight ends and one running back, right? You could see that coming down if they don't find a second tight end who they feel really comfortable with. And if that does come down, then it does give you more opportunities to kind of mix and match with these wide receivers and maybe see what it's like with a Jonte Cook and a Wingo or a Jonte Cook and a Golden, or maybe just see about maybe getting all three of those guys or something like that. So maybe, those are just some of the little bits of nuance that I would take away and, as far as actionable stuff. And certainly thank you for the super chat.
Absolutely. Thank you for all those super chats today. Jason, before we wrap it up, let's kind of give everybody a look into the future slightly. So 6:30 is Ty Anthony Smith this evening. Is that correct?
6:30 is when it'll start. It's him and at least one other athlete from his school there in Jasper. So, who knows how much pre-hype we'll get, but 6:30 is roughly when the announcement will go down. Yeah.
And your expectation of that, do you have the sense of where you think this is going?
Yeah, I felt this way for a while. I feel really confident he's going to flip to Texas.
Okay. So there would be an expectation of maybe a little hat game, maybe a little hat or bag or
probably
shirt,
yeah.
shirt
Ty Anthony, it's funny, man. And I've known, I don't say known, but I've talked to Ty Anthony and covered him for a while. He's always been a no BS, no nonsense kind of guy, but boy, he's played a lot of games here coming down the stretch. Yeah. Telling me he's not in Austin when I'm like, all right, dude, I know you're in Austin, but so things like that and just kind of giving misdirection, even with some of the tweets he's tweeting. So I would probably expect there'll be a hat game at that announcement tonight.
By the way, I would love it if you could send him a message right as he sits down at the table. If you could send him a message, and if he responded to you with, "Nah, man, I'm at home," that would be the greatest. That'd be the best ending.
I'm not going to call him tonight, but I will call him. Well, shit, tomorrow's Thursday already. So I do want to try to talk to him just to kind of get some backstory, maybe for the war room. All right, Ty Anthony, now let's cut the bullshit. Let's really talk about how this went down. When was your mind made up? And he'll probably say, "Oh, I made it up when I sat down at the table," which I'm like, then I'll be like, "No, you didn't. Come on. Why did you lie to me about visiting Texas?" So I do want to talk to him just to get some backstory. Sometimes that's fun to get backstory after the announcement. So I may try to call him tonight, if not for sure tomorrow.
Nice. So if you're a Longhorn fan, that 21, or excuse me, the 22 became 21 when Aaron Hampton ended up going to Bama, but the 21 could then become 22 again if Ty Anthony Smith does flip this evening. He is an Aggie commit, but today the Aggie commits have.
What do you think? Is that a good 1-for-1 trade, Jason? I don't.
Hampton for Ty Anthony.
Would you say you take a deal like deal or no deal if you could have Hampton?
I would take the deal just because I think they need linebacker. I don't know where Aaron Hampton was going to fit in. Texas was telling him defensive back, and I don't know.
Maybe play him at wide receiver where Nick Saban's been dying to get him.
Yeah, Alabama probably really Texas has truly been telling him safety. So I think Ty Anthony has a chance to make a quicker impact maybe than Aaron Hampton does, but Hampton's a really good football player, does a lot of things well too. So
and then Jason, again, before we wrap here, for the Longhorn fans that are interested in even more from that Aggie 24 class, Bussey, McKinley, and Evans will all be deciding in February, as far as you know.
Yeah, I think it's a done deal at this point. They will all be signing in February. I expect Texas will recruit all three of them. I don't know that it's going to carry a lot of weight with Terry Bussey, but I think those two defensive linemen, there's a real shot there.
There you go. Anything else, Jason, before we get out of here?
No, if someone could deliver me a steak to my house, that'd be awesome. But
you need to get you the steak. I feel you'll get that steak at some point. I know you will get that steak.
I might be eating at 9 o'clock tonight, but I'm getting a damn steak. That's right. So.
There you go. And by the way, you've heard both of these guys reference the War Room. Remember, tomorrow night, Thursday night, that's War Room night at orangebloods.com. You've been seeing the QR code throughout the shows today. If it's finally time to take that step, take the damn step for yourself or maybe somebody in your family that's a Longhorn freak. They're about to play for a spot in a championship game in like 12 days. All right. And that National Signing Day class just came in. Composite rankings have them up at like number 2 in the country. Never a better time to jump in. There's your QR code. Check out all the greatest, latest information, all the stuff we've been talking about. You want to go look at video? You want to go look at some of it? All in a nice, easy package of places to go and find. It's right there. It's right there for you. Check it out. All the great work from these two guys, from Catch, Anwar, Blake, the whole crew, and War Room Night gives you all the latest nuggets. They just empty their brains out for you on Thursday night. So be sure to check that out at orangebloods.com. Thanks to Anwar for all his great work today. He was over at UT for the presser. He was with us this morning. Thanks to Catch, obviously, for leading the show all throughout the day. By the way, Catch needs a raise. Whoever it is that can do that, Catch needs a raise, because then we all get a raise. That's the theory.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's get that going. Let's get that movement going. The other day, somebody in the chat was saying that somebody else needed a raise. Catch thought, well, why doesn't anybody say I need a raise? I'll say, well, he's not here. Let's get him a raise, because then the rest of us would get a raise, theoretically, right? Sounds like a good idea. And yes, thank you, Hookem 247. I'm not done yet. Let's just keep going. Outsiders tonight at 9 o'clock. Somebody wanted to know on the chat, what does Chance Mock think about the idea of you're about to play in a playoff game and the signees were maybe going to be involved in practice? Now, ultimately, Texas decided and the leadership council decided it wasn't a good idea. What would Mach 5 have said if somebody came to him with that idea? We'll throw that at Chance tonight in the 9 o'clock hour. We were scheduled to have Catch on the Outsiders tonight, but now he's at a Christmas party, so I'm not sure what to expect there, but he'll probably find a way to jump in. We'll get recruiting updates on the class and have some good fun with the Outsiders crew tonight. That'll be at 9 o'clock, and then tomorrow it's the regular shows back for one more day this week, wrapping everything up. 6:30 in the morning with Get Your Horns Up, 8 o'clock with the old fashioned, 12 to 3 is House Divided with myself and Catch, Alex Dunlap, and Football with Friends. I hear it's fun. I hear it's a lot of fun. I hear it's the shit. And I want to check it out. Mack Brown told me it's the shit. Man, that was the first time he'd ever said it. First time. First time he'd ever said it. And obviously check out all the great stuff online. orangebloods.com is where you want to go. All right. I think that's it. Blake, the super producer, needs his own set of thank yous too. He's been busting his ass all day, getting these graphics updated, getting things updated on the site, and getting you all the great information. So thanks to all of you in the Specs chat. Thanks to all the great sponsors we've been flashing at you today as well for helping us with Orange Bloods Live. Did we get to 18,000 subscribers, by the way, on Orange Bloods Live? Blake, can we do a check? We have been trying to claw and scratch our way to 18,000. How are we going to get to 8 million if we can't get to 18,000? What is going on here? It's the 18,000 Wheeler package we're trying to get to. Can we get there? Not yet. Come on, do it. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. It doesn't cost a thing to be a subscriber of the Orange Bloods Live YouTube channel. So become a subscriber. Help us get over 18,000. We would appreciate that. Y'all have a great evening. Again, we'll have an Outsider show at 9 o'clock. Jason, good luck getting the steak. We are rooting for you. Are you what do you do? Medium rare? Medium? What are you?
Yeah, I think Ketch is a well done guy. It drives me crazy. I'm a medium rare. Medium is the most I'll take it cooked. Yeah.
Go to the medium. Okay. Alex,
medium rare usually. Yeah.
The guys in the chat were telling me that my steak I cooked the other night was medium, man. But it's not medium. I'm a medium rare guy, of course.
Medium rare. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex and I know what's up. Medium rare. You bet.
That's it. Medium rare. That's what the steak connoisseurs will tell you. However you're doing your steak tonight, we hope you get to see it. And according to Blake, the super producer, you might be about to get a little steak education at the end of the show here. So we thank everybody for jumping in the Specs chat. Maybe some extra education coming for you on National Signing Day. Thank you for your support of Orange Bloods Live. Y'all have a good one.
We have these two beautiful picanha steaks from Texas Beef Traders. What I've done is I've just taken a little tiny bit of the fat off of the outside here. You want to leave a little bit of that fat on the outside, and I've put on there the seasoning they have there in the store called Meat Church Holy Cow on both sides. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put it out on the grill, and we're going to do a slow then fast cook. Everett, did you like those? Did you like that? I think you liked that fat that I took off of the picanha steaks. Good boy. Good boy. So what we have here is a 2-zone fire. We're gonna have this side hot, this side cold. I'm putting the steaks on here until they get to 80 internal. Once they get to 80 internal, I'm throwing them here. We're gonna blaze them with some butter on top until they get to 120 internal. No vaccines, non-GMO, like bovine nutritionists, all in Mason, Texas, bringing you the best beef in Texas, the best beef of the hill country, the taste of the hill country. It's Texas Beef Traders, man. Right in the heart of Lakeway. Go check them out, man. Go see Darren, go see Shay, go see what you're missing. Because if you're buying meat at the grocery store, you're not buying local meat. You might not even be buying American meat. Okay, so these guys went a little hot. They're both at about already at 105, 110 or so. So here's what we do. We're gonna take them both, stick them, we're gonna turn them over like this on the other side. Like this. Find the hottest spots that we can. Now we'll come over here. Thanks again to the Texas Beef Traders, man. The best there is. What we're gonna do is we're going to take this butter, stick it on there, and then look at that. Woo! We're gonna blaze these things.